Hello, my name is Brian Beers, and this is my step 4 for lab 3 for IoT. So I have my diagram of my 2 routers, 4 switches, and then 5 PCs. So loosely what I did, just so I can, in the interest of time, kind of keep this brief, I brought in 2 routers from down here, 4 switches, and then 5 PCs. I used copper straight through wires for connecting basically the different like trees, and then a crossover copper wire to connect the routers. First I set up the routers, and I use CLI predominantly to set them up. You can kind of see up top here that I'd set the different gigabit Ethernet cables to different IP addresses and subnet masks. So I use the second one to connect the routers using like this. Here, zoom in a little bit. Use gigabit 2 to connect the routers. I use this to connect them both. And then for the switches, I had just this and then this. So first one over here, second one over here, and I did that just the same thing over here as well. Again, using CLI, but in the interest of, I've just enable configure terminal, IP. Oof, okay, fell on. So sorry, it's a little messy, but it took me just a small minute to figure this out. But okay, so setting them up, I just used enable configure terminal, interface to the certain port I wanted. Then I set up the IP address somewhere in here. It is set up, and I realized that you could also just configure it right here. So it wasn't like too big a deal, but that was just something that I learned you could do. You could use CLI or just the config tab. Either way, I got the correct IP address I needed. And then something I needed to learn to do later on that I wish I knew a little sooner, but this made all the difference at the end, is I needed to route the other router to this one. So I needed to specifically define almost the route to get from here back to this second router. So we got router 2, that serves right here, and then these cover these switches and PCs. So that was important for setting up the routers. For the switches, this is really just what I did for all of them. So I'll keep this part brief. But again, enable configure terminal, interface VLAN 1, and then I put in the IP address. Since they're connected to different gigabit Ethernet ports to the router, there's a touch different, but I was able to properly connect them to each other and to the routers. So, and then another problem I ran into, but good to know, if you're having trouble keeping like these open, you just need to make sure that when you're adding them, especially in here, when you're adding them, the Ethernet ports, you need to make sure that you after you define the IP address, no shutdown, and then exit, and then it should be open. You should be able to access data through them. All right, so now going through, here's my first PC. Here's the IP address for the first one, 10.0.0.11. Second one, there's that, just 12. Slightly different one for the third one, which is right here. Slightly different. We go fourth. Slightly different again because it's in the second router. And then for the fifth, boom. Okay, so you can clearly see that there are different IP addresses. But if we go back into this one, we go into the command prompt. From this first PC of 10 0011. I'm going to ping the next one over, which is, so we're just going from here to here. No packet loss. So these are connected, they're able to transfer data. Now, let's talk about this one over here.